The ticket price. This does not shock me at all. What did I say earlier? The WNBA was about to F around and find out, and these rival teams were going to be in a lot of trouble. Well, they're finding out.
The lights went off. For a brief time, it seemed as though the WNBA had finally broken through the ceiling as the audience surged. Everything suddenly clicked after years of battling for attention, headlines, crowded seats, and cultural importance. The number of viewers was really high. The tickets were selling out. The enthusiasm permeated living rooms, social media, arenas, and national broadcasts. History was being made, not just hype, but everything shifted in an instant with that one little headline. A player was out for a few weeks. There was only a quick update, no league-wide statement, no serious injuries, and the whole mood changed. Nobody anticipated the chain reaction that was started by that one upgrade. Sales of tickets fell, engagement declined, and merchandise sales stalled. What appeared to be a flourishing kingdom suddenly began to show signs of weakness. It was similar to witnessing a huge tower wobble after one brick was removed. And at that same moment, a pointed query emerged. Was this explosive expansion in women's basketball really an indication of long-term development? Or was it all due to a single, extraordinary superstar? The response wasn't very. The decline demonstrated how much of the league's momentum depended on a single name and presence. Furthermore, the fact that reality is putting the WNBA in an awkward situation serves as a warning that its future may be far more precarious than supporters and officials would want to acknowledge.
The Caitlin Clark effect has been a net positive for the WNBA and all of its teams. But the star guard expected to miss a minimum of 2 weeks. The league will see the flip side of her impact, and there are already initial data points. This is front office sports, no conspiracies, no BS from them. Statistical data.
The WNBA was enjoying a tremendous wave of momentum prior to the rumors of her departure even beginning. Every Indiana Fever game is become a must-see event. Courtside seats were selling for even more, and tickets were selling out quickly, with some costing over $80 just to enter. The excitement was more than just hype. It was truly electric and unstoppable, and it forced rival teams and arena administrators to take risks in the hopes of making money. Consider the Chicago Sky as an illustration. They didn't only alter their strategy. They went all out and shifted their matchup with the Fever from the small, 2,400-seat Windsor Arena to the enormous, 21,000-seat United Center. They were placing a wager that Caitlin Clark's celebrity could fill every seat at the facility, which was constructed for NBA players and sold-out performances. This was a bold wager that depended on one player's capacity to pack the house and light up the league. It wasn't just about logistics, because, without a doubt, everyone was aware of who the crowds were expecting to see.
To hit the panic button 48 hours after news hits that Caitlin Clark is injured and she'll be missing 2 weeks, the market has responded, and the market has told the WNBA, we don't want this. We want her, but we don't want.
Then the time arrived when everything changed. What began as a little rumor swiftly became widely publicized. The unstoppable engine of the WNBA's movement, Caitlin Clark, was sidelined. And suddenly, the league's atmosphere disintegrated. It wasn't a slow reaction. It happened instantly. Without hesitation, the market replied with the stark, cold reality. Without her, the WNBA just didn't have the same significance. The ensuing stillness was deafening as well as disappointing. No fans showed up. Prices plummeted overnight. The demand that had seemed endless vanished. Take a look at that United Center game between the Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever. In a couple of hours, one of the league's most popular tickets, which had started at $86 and dropped to barely $25, experienced a staggering 71% reduction that was nearly unheard of and dealt organizers who had bet on a sellout a devastating gut blow. Furthermore, it didn't end there. When the Fever played the Washington Mystics on the road, the same crash happened again. Reduced rates due to empty seats, a harsh reality scenario that this wasn't an isolated incident. Rather, it was a stark reminder that couldn't be ignored.
Chicago Sky can't sell out their own 9,000-something seat arena like it is. They couldn't when they were kind of decent. They're a dumpster fire now. And now that Caitlin Clark is injured, the ticket prices for the Fever and Sky game just plummeted to Hades.
What was once a popular ticket costing $41 soon lost its appeal and was only $22. That is a startling 47% drop. The kind of decline that astounds front desks and fans alike. There was more than one game. Zoom out to view the larger image. Over a 2-week period, the average ticket price for 5 key Indiana Fever games had been skyrocketing at almost $137. However, as the injury news broke, that average dropped to only $80. A precipitous 42% drop in hardly a fortnight game demonstrates how harshly the market responded.
They stink now. Yeah, it's about me too. No, it's not. And this is
This was a loud declaration from the fans, not simply a little decline in interest. No tickets, Caitlin Clark. The request was very explicit. People came to see her, not just to watch the WNBA, and you could sense the atmosphere shift when she wasn't playing. Before the game even began, the excitement had vanished. It seemed as though someone had released all of the building's air. That unsettling quiet revealed a much more significant tale. Everyone was enjoying the league's surge in popularity, but it wasn't as stable as it seemed, since there was a delicate truth hidden beneath all the fanfare. There was no widespread interest driving this enormous growth. It was largely dependent on one irrepressible star for support.
Games over the next 2 weeks have dropped 42% since Caitlin Clark's injury announcement, an average ticket price of $137, all the way down to $80.
This went beyond a superstar missing a few games. It was a brutal, unvarnished spotlight on the WNBA's most serious flaws. The figures were honest. They proved what many had believed but few dared to publicly state. They were cold, cruel, and unavoidable. It seems like the entire league is powered by Caitlin Clark, who is more than simply a player. Everyone else is only following in her footsteps in the hopes of absorbing some of the fire she produces. The increase in attendance at the crowded stadiums, the social media videos that went viral, the increase in ticket sales, they felt it was all evidence of a league turning a corner and entering a new era. An indication that women's basketball was at last receiving the recognition it merited. But this particular instance revealed a heartbreaking reality. One generational player was responsible for almost all of that momentum, and the league loses identity in addition to excitement when she isn't playing. Because the WNBA still doesn't have a complete roster of similarly lucrative stars outside of Caitlin, the true problem is that there isn't a long list of notable individuals to continue the tradition after she passes away. The type that cannot be fixed by a highlight reel.
People are selling their tickets, definitely can't get face value, so what do? They just continue to lower and lower and lower and lower and lower the price. This isn't all resellers, folks. Hate to break it to you. A majority of these are everyday normal people. A majority of these are everyday normal people who watch Caitlin Clark in Iowa, watch her in her first year in Indiana, said, man, I want to watch that. I want to go to those games. I want to experience that. They won't be able to experience it.
It was an unavoidable reality check for the league. What did it say about the actual strength of the WNBA's foundation if Caitlin Clark's brief absence could result in such a massive collapse in interest? It wasn't just about 1 or 2 games. It raised serious concerns about the league's whole commercial strategy. Everything was affected by the ripple effect. Sales of tickets, excitement, and the league's financial prospects, even the games that were supposed to be big events, like the Chicago Sky versus Indiana Fever game, which had come to represent the WNBA's renewed vigor, abruptly lost their appeal. The energy vanished. The unpleasant reality of rows of empty seats replaced the lofty aspirations of sold-out arenas. Not only were the numbers plummeting, but it was clear that the environment was disintegrating. Even casual admirers sensed it. There was no longer any buzz. This was not your normal star injury, where people continued to come out of habit or allegiance. This was a dangerous situation. The league was watching in real time as their big wager on Clark's superstar pull backfired. Without her, the enchantment diminished. The notion that a single star might elevate the entire league under pressure, it broke down, and many teams were left frantically trying to remain relevant in the quiet she left behind.
I mean, it's more statistical proof, data, to confirm exactly what we've been saying, that Caitlin Clark is driving this whole ship, this whole bus. She's driving it. Everybody else, get in the back.
Caitlin Clark. When abruptly removed from the spotlight, the attention persisted. It simply moved, landing directly on Angel Reese. She was seen by many as the moment's heir apparent. She was already a household name due to her unmistakable charisma, bold personality, and trend-setting style. She had established a strong brand off the court that appealed to fans who viewed her as a cultural influence in addition to a player. She never shied away from making audacious claims, such as the now famous comment that people watched the WNBA because of her swagger and confidence, and she was often in the news. And that type of bluster was just what the league needed after abruptly losing its biggest name. The WNBA switched its attention to Reese in the hopes that her celebrity would generate the same kind of excitement, sellout crowds, and national attention that Clark had provided week after week. The big question now loomed as the league desperately needed someone to fill the void and maintain the momentum. Could the league's expectations really be met by Angel's star power?
Marquee matchup in the WNBA. Like it or love it, rivalry or not, Chicago Sky, Indiana Fever, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, that is the marquee matchup in the WNBA, and those tickets are crashing just as well. From $86 48 hours ago to $25. And by the time June 7th rolls around, it might cost you a bag of Skittles and some Lay's potato chips to get in there.
However, this is when the data started to show a very different and unsettling picture. All eyes were on Angel Reese once Caitlin Clark left the court. There was a great deal of strain and tremendous expectations. This was her chance to demonstrate that she could create the same excitement, drive ticket sales, and dominate the spotlight with equal ferocity. But the market spoke, and its message was brutally honest and loud and plain. Not exactly consider the eagerly awaited United Center matchup between the Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever. It was intended to be a historic matchup, a daring display of the Reese versus Clark rivalry in a venue the magnitude of the NBA. With this one, the league had high hopes. A full house, a major event, and a proclamation that women's basketball had finally come. But the moment Clark was disqualified, the dream came crashing down. Demand for tickets declined, the excitement vanished virtually overnight, and the enormous arena that was meant to resound with excitement felt empty and much too large for the event. And it wasn't just that one night either. This wasn't an anomaly. The trend gained rapid traction. Even other high-profile games, such as the Baltimore showdown between the Fever and Mystic, couldn't avoid the slump. Although Reese was widely marketed as the main attraction, the message became evident when a $41 ticket fell 47% to only $22. Even in areas where Reese had strong connections and headline billing, the Fever pitch just didn't follow. The excitement was there in theory, but the fan passion that was lacking wasn't there. Reese's presence alone wasn't enough to start the same fire that Clark had started.
And we have plenty of evidence that proves Angel Reese is not qualified to carry the lead.
Then there was an uncomfortable silence. After Caitlin Clark's accident, Angel Reese, who is renowned for being loud and confident about the enormous attention she attracts, was unusually quiet as ticket sales fell and fan interest drastically declined. Both league insiders and fans were worried about the silence. Was Reese purposefully remaining silent to avoid difficult or awkward questions? Or did her silence inadvertently reveal the overwhelming burden of expectations she was finding it difficult to bear? Pressure so great that even she might have been overwhelmed. In any case, Reese was in a difficult situation. She is unquestionably a prominent public figure who makes headlines. However, she was expected to take Clark's place and shoulder the league's whole financial load. The figures were unambiguous and uncompromising. She just couldn't do it alone. It was hard to overlook the glaring disparity between Reese's celebrity position and her capacity to reliably increase ticket sales in comparison to Clark. This led to a definite separation and a challenging reality that Reese and the league would have to deal with directly.
The get-in tickets for the Fever's rivalry game against the Chicago Sky on June 7th are down 71% from $86 to $25.
Perhaps you're curious about what Angel Reese accomplished throughout her time in college. Her indisputable LSU highlights her enormous social media following, which surpasses that of many professional sports, and those viral moments that attracted millions of viewers. All of it should easily result in WNBA success, right? The harsh reality, as demonstrated by the recent WNBA market decline, tells a quite different narrative from the fair expectation that her star power and personal brand would automatically carry over and garner the same degree of attention. Caitlin Clark has an almost unrivaled ability to bring large crowds to arenas on a regular basis, creating record-breaking demand for tickets and driving up costs. In stark contrast, Reese's influence hasn't changed much in terms of ticket sales or the league's overall economic clout thus far. This isn't to minimize Reese's indisputable talent, ferocious competitiveness, or captivating charisma. She is without a doubt an alluring athlete and a self-made celebrity who loves in the limelight, but the league's precarious dependence on one player has been revealed, exposing the obvious limitations of even its best backup alternative. The well-known second most popular celebrity, these costs will persist.